Hello everybody, good to see you again. I'm back with another story for you, and today the story that we're going to read is another version of Goldilocks and the Three Bears, again by the same author, Jan Brett, but this time we're reading the book that's called The Three Snow Bears. And when we're thinking about this book today, I want to stop for a minute and I want to think about what choices does Jan Brett make when she's writing. We're now going to hear two different stories that she retold that's a different version of the same story. So when we read this one today, I want you to be thinking, did she change things about the characters? And did she change things about the setting? And if she did change things about the characters or change things about the setting, did the message still stay the same or did the message change? So when we're done, we'll kind of go through both of the stories and we'll see the things that changed, the things that stayed the same, and we'll compare and contrast these two stories. So here we go. We are going to read The Three Snow Bears by Jan Brett. And if you look, the story here kind of starts on the title page, and you can see this is Aluki right here, and these are her husky dogs. And her husky dogs are going to take her places in this story. She uses these husky dogs to help you. And to help her, sorry. And you can see right here that she's actually ice fishing. So this story is taking place in the Arctic. "Come back," Aluki shouted as her huskies floated out to sea. Oh no! She knew that although an ice floe is a good place to fish, it's a bad place to lose a dog team. Not far away, a snow bear family had just started to eat their breakfast, but it was way too hot for Baby Bear. I feel like I heard something like that in the last story we read. And again, we remember that Jan Brett has bigger illustrations in the center, and then her smaller illustrations along the side will let you know what else is happening in the story, so you can see the bears in the smaller illustrations. I'll show you over here as well. "Owie!" yowled Baby Bear. "My breakfast burned my mouth." "We'll go for a stroll and let the soup cool," Mama Bear said. Boys and girls, did you hear a new word, yowl? What does it mean to yowl? When the baby bear said yowl, or said ow, he yowled. If you yowl, you're making a really loud cry in pain. It was so hot that it made him yowl. Now here, if you look at the smaller pictures, you can see the huskies. And if you look at the huskies, they're on some ice here. And it seems like the ice, if you look in this picture over here, has gotten away from Aluki. It's starting to float away. Aluki was running along looking for her dogs when she came upon the biggest igloo she had ever seen. Who lives here, she wondered. Take a look at that igloo. She's curious and wonders who lives in there. We know who lives in there. There's those snow bears again. Aluki ducked inside. Right away she smelled something delicious. Across the room she saw a big bowl, a middle-sized bowl, and a small bowl. Surely the good smell was coming from the three bowls. Does this remind you of the story Goldilocks at all? Now if you look over here, you can see the bears, and they're pointing out to the water. Let's look at the smaller illustration over here. Here's those sled dogs again, there's the huskies, and they're still out in the ice. Aluki took a sip from the biggest bowl. Ow, she cried out, too hot. She took a sip from the middle-sized bowl. Ew, too cold. She tipped up the littlest bowl and drank every drop. She said, not too hot and not too cold. In the next room, Aluki spotted 3 pairs of beautiful boots standing in a row. She put on the biggest boots. Too big, she said. She put on the middle-sized boots. Too fancy, she said. She put on the littlest pair of boots. Just right, she said, wiggling her toes in the soft fur lining. Aluki walked into the last room and found a long sleeping bench piled high with fur covers. Heat from an oil lamp warmed her cheeks and made her sleepy. Time for a nap, she thought. She crawled under the highest mound of covers. Too lumpy, she grumbled. She tried the middle bed with a furry fringe cover, but sank down so far she could hardly breathe. Too soft, she said. She strolled right into the smallest sleeping place. The furry blanket was cozy and warm, and the pillow was just her size. Just right, Aluki murmured, and was asleep before she could take her boots off. First graders, let's look really closely at the pictures over here. What do you see is happening with the snow bears and the huskies? Let's take a look at this other picture over here on the side. The bears helping the dogs. If Aluki hadn't fallen fast asleep, she might have heard her dogs barking happily. Papa Bear, Mama Bear, and Baby Bear had spotted them adrift in the strong current and gone out to save them. The Snow Bear family was pushing Aluki's dog team back toward their igloo and safety. Boys and girls, when they get to their igloo, what will they find? Who will they find? I wonder how they will react. Papa Bear crawled into the igloo and saw his big bowl sitting in a pool of spilled soup. "Someone has been tasting my soup," he roared. Mama Bear rushed in and saw that her soup had been sloshed around too. "Someone has been sipping my soup," she growled. "Someone found my soup," sputtered Baby Bear in her high squeaky voice, "and they ate it all up." Papa Bear ran into the next room and saw his boots in the middle of the floor. "Someone has been trying on my boots," he boomed in a big bear voice. Mama Bear put on her fancy boots. "Someone has had these boots on," she huffed, "and the fur is all bunched up." Baby Bear saw that her boots had disappeared. "Someone has taken my boots and left behind these not as good ones," she wailed. Wail is like to cry. She cried. See those husky dogs now? Outside the igloo, taking a rest after that scary trip they just took. The bears ran into their bedroom. "Someone has been sleeping in my bed," Papa Bear bellowed. "Someone has been sleeping in my bed too," Mama Bear cried. Baby Bear peeked at her little bed and squeaked, "Someone has been sleeping in my bed, and here she is!" Aluki opened her eyes and saw 3 bear noses only inches away. How do you think you'd feel if you woke up and saw 3 bear noses only inches away from you and you were in their house? She hopped out of the bed and dove between Papa Bear's huge furry legs. Quicker than a seal, Aluki ran from room to room until she burst outside. Her huskies bounced around, barking and smiling their doggy grins. They're probably so happy to see her. But what do you think she's thinking? Let's go. Aluki and her dogs flew over the frozen ice, dodging ridges and cracks. She looked back to wave a thank you to the snow bears. She couldn't see them, but she heard a big gruff voice, a middle-sized voice, and a high squeaky voice calling to her. Why is she waving thank you to them? What'd they do? They saved her dogs, right? And she was in their house. I see waving. Bye-bye, bye-bye, bye-bye. So they're waving back too. Okay, so now that we finished our story, The Three Snow Bears by Jan Brett, and we finished our story last time, Goldilocks and the Three Bears, retold by Jan Brett, I want to go ahead and compare and contrast these two stories and see how are they the same and different. But before we do that, I want to go back to these first questions that Mrs. Brady was asking you. Remember when I asked, what choices does Jan Brett make when she's writing? The first question I asked is, did she change things about the characters or the setting? And if she did change things about the character or the setting, did the message stay the same? So let's go ahead and think about these two stories. Think about the things that are same and different. See if the characters changed. Well, we can start off right here. So right here I have the characters. In Goldilocks and the Three Bears, we have Goldilocks and the Three Bears. In the Three Snow Bears, we have Aluki and the Three Snow Bears. So it's similar, but it's different. Let's think about the setting. In Goldilocks and the Three Bears, they're in the woods and then in the house of the bears. In the Three Snow Bears, they're in the Arctic and in an igloo. So again, it's different. So she did change them. Let's think about the food. When Goldilocks goes into the house, she goes right for that porridge. But when Aluki goes into the house, she goes for some soup. In Goldilocks and the Three Bears, she sits down in the chairs and then she tries out the different beds. And in the Three Snow Bears, Aluki tries on different boots and then again also goes into the bed. So there, some are the same and some are different. So let's think in general what happened in the story. So in Goldilocks and the Three Bears, Goldilocks goes into the house, she eats the food, she sits in the chairs, she falls asleep and runs away. And in the Three Snow Bears, Aluki goes into the Snow Bears igloo, she drinks the soup, she tries on the boots, she sleeps, and then she goes away with her dogs. So there are a lot of things that are the same in both the stories, with just little tiny things that are different here or there. But the question again was, did the lesson stay the same? And in the first story, Goldilocks and the Three Bears, we learned that she learns not to go into a house if she isn't invited. And I think we can say that in the Three Snow Bears, it's still the same lesson. But Aluki learns that it's not good to go into a house if you're not invited. And we saw what that can be like and how uncomfortable that can be and how upset people can be. And we know that we don't want to go in someone's house if we're not invited. So we'll be sure not to do that. All right, first graders, thank you so much for comparing and contrasting these two stories with me. Thank you for listening so nicely. It was great to see you today, and I will talk to you and read to you again soon. Bye, everybody.